All right, music fans, welcome back. It's just the harmless one here talking about real music in real time for real people just like you right there and like me right here. Eric Clapton. My video here is just going to be a basic in defense of Eric Clapton, and also I will predict the future on this video. I'm actually hoping I'm wrong about this. I'm really hoping I'm wrong, but I predict that someday, God forbid, when Eric Clapton does finally leave planet Earth, that people won't be talking about Eric Clapton's ability to play the guitar. They won't be talking about the countless generations of musicians he's influenced. They won't talk about Derek and the Dominoes or Cream, probably one of the most groundbreaking bands in the history of music. They won't talk about Cream. They won't talk about the Yardbirds. They won't talk about Eric Clapton's incredible solo career. They won't talk about all the great musicians Eric Clapton has played with over his career. What they'll talk about is Eric Clapton's views on a particular subject that we are all living through. And this will be the basis to critique Eric Clapton as a musician, even though, quite frankly, it has nothing to do with Eric Clapton as a musician. It just doesn't. You could say the same thing these days about Van Morrison. You could say the same things about Ted Nugent. I mean, really, there are a handful of people that represent a different viewpoint than the prevailing viewpoint that makes you okay with those who write reviews, those who publish magazines, and those that have pageants or ceremonies to honor you. I mean, this is what it's come down to, is the right thinking in terms of agreement, or if you disagree, obviously we're going to write negative things about your album. Case in point, Van Morrison released an album, and I've never seen such harsh reviews on a Van Morrison album as I read. And it was exactly the opposite. This was a supercharged, inspired version of Van Morrison. What disturbs me about the Clapton situation is, will his ranking change as a guitarist because of all of this? Will people start to think, hey, Clapton wasn't really that good. He just wasn't that good. He's overhyped. To say Eric Clapton is overhyped is to say that the Beatles were just, a run-of-the-mill band. It's getting a little bit weird out there. And, I understand Eddie Van Halen recently passed away, and Eddie didn't have much to say about what was happening last year. He was kind of busy trying to stay alive. In fact, his son made mention that if things were a little bit different, where he was able to travel and do some things, he might still be here today. That's according to Wolfgang Van Halen. So these people that are hell-bent on creating a narrative that they want you to adhere to really are putting other people's lives at risk, and they don't talk about that portion of it. They're only kind of, zeroed in on this one thing. And if you don't talk about this one thing, or you don't agree on this one thing, then you're just an outcast. We will ghost you. We will just leave you, and you didn't exist. You will get disappeared. Eric Clapton is a bit difficult to disappear. I'm sure there were so many people out there that were like, really, Eric? And I used to like you so much, and you did this. Well, I don't really need these Cream records in my collection anymore. I had Journeyman, but I'm just going to give it to the flea market, or give it to the thrift shop. And if this happens to Eric Clapton, it shows you how far gone everything is, that it can't be fixed, and that people are thinking almost in a fog, almost in a zombie-like way, where they can't recognize good art, right? And separate it from their own personal views on a topic. Ted Nugent, who I've defended on this channel on numerous occasions, because I think Ted is another amazing guitar player, very different style than Eric Clapton, but deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Won't get there, never. I mean, if he gets into the Hall of Fame will be under new management. They'll be under new ownership if that ever occurs. And by the way, I think that would be a great thing for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think it would be a great thing if the media itself was under new ownership, where you could actually hear two sides of a story rather than one side. And when someone like me comes along to present the other side of it, then I get blasted for not going along with what everybody else is saying. It's just bizarre. And I think for Eric Clapton's future, for his legacy, I think people need to understand that even if you think he's the most ridiculous person on the planet for saying what he said, of course, Valerie Bertinelli doesn't think very highly of Eric Clapton, even though her husband, ex-husband, late husband, loved Eric Clapton, was inspired by Eric Clapton. I think said on numerous occasions that Eric Clapton was his favorite guitarist, even though stylistically very different from what Eddie would, eventually become. So I put this video out here as kind of like a time capsule. We'll see how this video ages. It might age. If this video ages really badly, in a way, I'll be happy, because maybe humanity will recover from their fog. But if this video ages like, the prophet Isaiah or something, then it shows not that I'm all that smart. It just shows how bad things are going to become, because my prediction is things will become so bad that Eric Clapton will be forgotten about or marginalized or become less important than he actually is to rock and roll history. So in any event, that's my little video on Eric Clapton in defense of Eric. And yes, you can add Van Morrison and Ted Nugent, and I really can't think of anybody else because there are so few of them out there that don't think the way everybody else wants you to think. So there you have it.